Good evening, everyone. Severe Weather Team 9 meteorologist Nathan Shutt rejoining you after we just broke in for a tornado warning. We did have some rotation there showing around the Moundsville area, and the rotation started to weaken moving into northern or through northern Marshall County, but we're still seeing some very high winds in that line and moving through northern Marshall County, and then it will be progressing there into Ohio County. So let's jump in. We're going to be looking at the velocity product again. And we were, if you join me live on air, we were tracking that tornado warning, but certainly we're still seeing some very high winds as the storm was progressing into these locations. We're going to drop our severe weather warning outline there so we can get an idea of some of these wind speeds. And if we were to back this up, you can see just how high some of these winds were that radar was estimating moving out of the Moundsville area, through the Moundsville area, and then eventually out of the Moundsville area, now lifting their north towards the I-70 corridor. It looks like those wind speeds have been reduced some. They're weakening some, but getting a sampling here of what some of these wind speeds are currently moving in the I-70 corridor. There's some damaging winds possible now along I-70 corridor into Ohio County. So that's where we're seeing some of those higher winds right now. And if we do look at reflectivity, you'll notice as well, I want to point out a feature. It's always a good indication of higher winds. You can see how this segment is actually bowing out. So you can see that there are some higher winds within this line, and you can see the segment bowing out. And what do I mean by that is that if you were to draw this curved line here, you can see it almost looks like a bow, right? If you draw that, and then you draw this, there's your bow, right? And then you can obviously do the arrow as well, but it doesn't want to do it. But you get the idea. That's a bowing segment. And this is always indications there that we're having some higher winds that is yielding this bowing segment, which again, coming out of Moundsville, we absolutely did have radar estimating some higher wind speeds. We'll go back to that velocity product and of what we were just looking at. We'll go back to our velocity product and go back a little bit. And coming out of Moundsville, moving through the Moundsville area, radar was estimating these wind speeds even possibly in excess of 60 miles per hour if we were to bump this back even a little bit further towards Moundsville. And in fact, that the severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect for these locations, I believe, did tag on at one point. I think it's down to 60. I thought I was reading on air it was up to 70 mile per hour possible wind speeds, which again, that was mainly with what winds were being picked up around Moundsville and then moving out of the Moundsville area. And in fact, I even was looking at the Moundsville camera going before cutting in there on air for that tornado warning, and the Moundsville camera was down. So again, there's indications there that the camera had lost power even as we were getting ready to go on air. We're seeing some of those cameras, and we were just looking at that with Caddis as well earlier, if you joined us for that first live stream we were doing. So where we stand right now, before I jump into some comments, I apologize, I'm not ignoring you. Looking at the severe thunderstorm warning, still looking at a couple areas we're dealing with this warning right now. And you'll see this line right now is centered across eastern Wetzel. So this line is already almost out of the northern panhandle of looking at areas south of I-70. So you'll see that line now is centered into eastern Marshall County, eastern Wetzel County. It's out of Tyler County. The severe risk now, of course, is waning for most of Belmont, right? We're seeing a northeast sliver there of Belmont County, but most of Belmont's out of this. Monroe, Noble, Guernsey, Tuscarawas, most of Carroll, the vast majority of Harrison. So we're seeing a good portion of our region in the wake of this line now, but we're seeing this line extending from the close to the county line of Columbiana and Carroll, and then through western Jefferson, and then looking into Ohio County, and then eastern Marshall as well as Wetzel. So that's where we're currently seeing this line right now. These severe thunderstorm warnings remain in effect leading up to 7 o'clock for that warning that's more along and south of I-70, and then looking north of I-70, this polygon here to Jefferson, Columbiana County, Carroll County. That's until 7:15. And again, at this point, if you haven't seen this line yet and you're tuning in this area, it's arriving in a matter of minutes, right? In the Steubenville-Weirton area, likely already hearing some of that thunder. This is going to be moving in likely within the next even 15 minutes. It's moving through the Steubenville and Weirton area, and eventually then Toronto as well as East Liverpool. So again, this is on the doorstep. If you have not had that line move through yet, it's on your doorstep at this point. So, that being said, again, I want to get to some comments. If anyone has some comments, want to get to them. Angela says, "Good evening. Where are the current tornado warnings?" So we had one in northern Marshall, but it's no longer in effect. We had that until 6:45, and then it expired. So there are no current tornado warnings in effect for our area. Again, there's no tornado warnings in effect. The possibility has been there with this line for a brief spin up, and we've only had one tornado warning in effect for our area. That was northern Marshall County. What the vast majority of us are seeing are some high winds with this line as it moves through the region. So damaging winds, some high winds within these storms. That is what we're mainly concerned about. That's what most of us the vast majority of us are going to see. Even the hail potential looks low with these storms. It is mainly just the high winds that we're going to be tracking as this line does progress across the area. So that was our one and only tornado warning we had. Again, there's no current tornado warnings in effect for our area across eastern Ohio, the northern panhandle. So for our region, again, there's no active tornado warnings, right? We're not tracking any tornado warnings right now, but we are dealing with some severe thunderstorm warnings for that potential for some high winds, wind gusts upwards of 60. And at times that potential has been there for wind gusts even up to 70 miles per hour. So those are some damaging winds that can obviously bring down trees and power lines and bring power outages. And it's a good bet that I think we're going to end up with quite a few. I think we're going to end up with quite a bit of power outages from this line, and we're going to be watching for those power outages numbers, unfortunately, probably rising as this does push across the area. Brittany says, "Hi, Nate. Hi. Hello." Linda's joining us from Marshall County. Hopefully you stayed safe here in northern Marshall County there, Linda, under that tornado warning earlier. Hello there, Natalie. Can't stand. Oh, I think you're talking. Sky's getting darker in Valley Grove. Hi there, Franna. Thundering in Follinsby. The loud thunder in Mingo Junction. It's on your doorstep. Loud thunder. Nissa, Kathy, thunder in Mingo. Kathy says yes, it's on the doorstep. On the doorstep. Thunder in Weirton. Michelle says New Martinsville had extensive damage. Christy says Riverside Plaza. Oh wow, really? Well, thank you for that report. Yeah, I will make note of that, Christy. Thank you for the report, and if you will as well, I'll actually forward that to the National Weather Service office in Pittsburgh. So, thank you very much for that report. And if any of you can safely send in those storm reports, it is appreciated, especially with any pictures. So that's a good thing to pass along to the National Weather Service office in Pittsburgh. It goes into a database, so your storm report would be there forever. Forever in archives from the National Weather Service. So yeah, if you can safely, you want to do this as after the storm's passed and comfortably past you. But if you can forward any pictures, anything of showing any wind damage, it would be appreciated. I would appreciate it. And then we'll share some of that coming up on the news at 10:11 as well. And then of course I will forward those to the National Weather Service office at Pittsburgh, where they will then write up they'll write up that storm report. And like I mentioned, your storm report will then go in archive and stay there forever. And it'll be referenced then, for looking at studies of this event, or, just in general, it will go in the archives and, for future studying, looking at history and such. Your storm report will be there. Just wanted to check real quick. The National Weather Service office just wanted to check real quick. Haven't seen them mention anything else. So just got the thunderstorm warning in Weirton. Michelle says Columbiana is very dark. Maggie says rain and thunder in Wintersville. I can hear rumbling in East Liverpool. It's very dark, no rain yet. Scary. It's quiet. The quiet before the storm. It's been eerily quiet out ahead of the storm, hasn't it? Just got back to Wheeling and through the storm in Belmont County is raining, coming down hard. Yes, early seeing some torrential rain within this as well as it does move through. Rumbling in New Cumberland, no rain just yet. Teresa says, hello there, Natalie. Lots of thunder in New Cumberland, Megan says. Power's out in Elm Grove. That's where we were just at the beginning of the stream. We're tracking that high winds. They're moving right in Elm Grove area, right along the I-70 corridor in Ohio County. Anything severe for tonight? So yeah, after this does move through, the severe risk is going to fall off for likely the remainder of this evening and for a good portion of tonight. The severe risk is going to taper off. But that being said, I would watch. I think the potential's there for at least some strong thunderstorms later on tonight. I think the potential is going to be there closer towards sunrise. So that's very late tonight. We're likely talking even after 3 a.m. But I think that potential is there more leading up towards sunrise tomorrow. So I would watch then. I think the potential is there for another round of some thunderstorms to move in. So yes, unfortunately. Now anything near term after this, likely not. But later tonight, I think there could be. So yeah, we're going to be watching that next round as well. Hope we don't get another tornado up in northern Hancock. I hope not either, Jennifer. I hope not. I pray not. Moving into Wintersville now. I hope not. Coming through Irondale now. Shannon says lots of thunder, some rain so far, no wind so far. Shannon noted. North end of New Martinsville is out of power as well. And I think that was, during that first live stream, that was where we were seeing some of those higher winds as well. We were looking at them in coming out of Guernsey, moving through northwest Belmont, then moving towards Cadiz. And then the other area of high winds was near New Martinsville. So it looks like the radar was estimating was probably pretty much on par with what we did see at the surface there, where those winds were estimated upwards around 60 miles per hour. So it looks like it could have been a bit higher than that at times too. So it looks like there's been some, we're going to be keeping an eye there, and definitely something to note. And we'll have to keep an eye on there. May end up even sending a crew down there to report on some of that damage in New Martinsville. Just got some lightning across from Weirton behind Toronto. When is the storm supposed to move out of Smithfield? So yeah, this is moving so quick that as soon as the storm's over you, it's likely. Really, what we're looking at now, of course, this storm's now moved out of Marshall County, almost out of Wetzel, and it's now just entering it there into eastern Jefferson County. Has not reached Hancock County yet, and we're looking into Brooke County. The storm's just now moving into those locations, but really, we're looking at likely within the, I would say by 7:30, I think that this storm is pushed east out of our area across the region, and it's going to be into Western PA at that point. So it's not much longer. It is not much longer that this is going to be impacting us. There's still obviously some rain in the wake of this that we're seeing, but the severe threat will likely be over here within the next half hour. Again, probably within 7:30. I think that's a pretty I think it's a conservative estimate too to say by 7:30. No power around Bottom Hill, Moundsville. Jill said, "Yeah, what I noticed our Moundsville tower cam was out, so I'm wondering if it had lost power as well there in Moundsville." Tiffany says, "Pouring down rain, some wind in Smithfield, batten down the hatches." I agree. Batten down the hatches, indeed. Yes, and again, if you know anyone, obviously that at this point, you want to be seeking shelter as the storms again are getting awfully close to you. If it's not already over you, right, it's a matter of minutes. The storm's moving in to your area, so you want to be getting obviously inside and seeking shelter as these storms move across the region. But it's certainly in a situation where you're outside and you can't seek shelter in a matter of minutes, then a matter of a couple minutes, right? Definitely want to be getting indoors. And I know a lot of people out enjoying Memorial Day weekend. The biggest thing that always comes to mind when I see this is people out on lakes. I know we've got a lot of lakes around here. It's awesome to enjoy them, especially Memorial Day weekend, being out on a boat. But it is a scary situation in these events because of how long it can take to get to shelter in that event, to get to shore, to seek shelter. That's really what I worry about most in these events, especially when we're dealing with something as widespread as this, where all of us have that potential for some high winds. All right. So I do want to go and I want to look at actually power outages right now. Monroe County at 859, Guernsey County at 166. And we're dealing with, outside of that, numbers have been minimal in Eastern Ohio. So, and this is updated at 7:06. Let's look, and we're going to go look at West Virginia. And looking in West Virginia, Ohio County right now, again, this is as of 7:01 for West Virginia. As of 7:01, 1,757 customers reported without power in Ohio County, 247 in Marshall, 2,115 in Wetzel, which that is roughly from the customers tracked in Wetzel County. That's almost a third, or not quite a third, but almost a third of the customers tracked that are currently without power in Wetzel County. So that is the highest that we've seen. And of course, that with a lot of you saying in there around New Martinsville, evidence that we're seeing possibly some of the worst wind damage around Wetzel County or around New Martinsville. As again, that's 28.92% to be exact. Customers tracked versus customers out. The outage percentage 28.92% for the county, Wetzel County. Customers out, the precise number 2,115 customers currently without power. Let's jump to our velocity product and let's look at some of our wind speeds here, some of the wind speeds that we're still seeing across the area. Um, so looking, you've started into Jefferson County and radar estimating some wind speeds, still some pretty gusty winds. Looks like we're estimating wind speeds though, even below 50 miles per hour. So good news that we're seeing nothing that in terms of what we're seeing right now, these again can pick up a bit as they progress towards the east, but it looks like our wind speeds right now are looking like they are, well, radar's estimating even below 50 miles per hour. So still some gusty winds, but hopefully we can avoid any real damaging winds right now as this is moving through Jefferson County. Of course, that'd be going towards the Toronto area and then up Route 7 towards Stratton, Empire, Steubenville, Weirton area, as we're seeing some lighter winds thankfully registered there in Jefferson County with this line. Looking at this into Ohio County, I want to get a look at radar with this one. So we're seeing some higher winds there. That's in West Liberty area, so that's upwards about 60 miles per hour. So we're seeing some pretty high winds coming out of West Liberty area. That's the same. We're seeing some of those high winds, the same winds that were likely moving then across that I-70 corridor, now advancing towards the northeast. That's going to be moving into the Bethany area, coming out of West Liberty. We're seeing some of those higher winds. And that's those wind speeds upwards of about 60 miles per hour. So we're likely dealing with some potential there for some damaging winds coming out of West Liberty, going into Bethany. So moving out of Ohio County, and now those would be into southern Brooke County. We'll be watching those then moving as these move towards the northeast to Bethany. And we'll be watching then for locations mainly towards Bethany and then into the eastern part of Brooke County. This should be staying towards the south and east of Wellsburg, Beach Bottom, those higher winds likely staying out of those locations. Then looking a little further towards the south, again, the line at this point is extended into western PA, looking into Marshall County. At that point, we're seeing some lower wind speeds as well for that. So it looks like our highest wind speeds right now that we're watching is areas around moving from West Liberty now over Bethany. So it looks like some of our highest winds right now are over Bethany into southern Brooke County. And that's where we're seeing the potential for the latest scans coming in a bit lower, but that potential has been there for those wind speeds upwards of 60 miles per hour. Right now, the latest scan coming in closer to 50 miles per hour. Still some very high winds, wind gusts there moving into Bethany area, coming out of West Liberty. That's where we're seeing some of our highest winds right now. Sorry, severe thunderstorm warning. You can see they're continuing to looks like trim this as the storms moving through areas. So right now, severe thunderstorm warning in effect for our area into Brooke County, Hancock County, Columbiana County, Jefferson County. In fact, they could probably trim off their Carroll County. That storm's now east of Carroll County. So again, where we're seeing this right now, extending through more of the central part of Columbiana County and now into the eastern part of Jefferson County, and then into the southern part of Brooke County. So that's where we're seeing this line right now. Again, outside of those areas I just mentioned, your severe threats come to an end. Right, you're dealing with some rain still, but your severe threats come to an end. That line is progressed out of your area. So that you got, so it includes Ohio County. And again, most of the area we've seen these pass as of this hour, as of this minute. Toronto seems okay right now. Michael says Caddis. So it's already moved through Caddis. So you're dealing with some rain right now, but again, outside of again, we're dealing with Columbiana County, Jefferson, Hancock, Brooke. Those are the only counties right now where there still remains that threat for some damaging winds. So that's where the severe threat lies in just those counties I just mentioned. Outside of that, the severe risk is done. We still got some rain, but the severe risk has subsided for the remainder of this evening, and likely for much of tonight as well. Yeah, I would watch closer to sunrise tomorrow that we could have another round of some thunderstorms moving in, but at least for near term, that severe risk is likely done once this moves through. Miranda says raining hard now with lots of thunder and lightning. New Cumberland, New Manchester, okay. Yeah, some of those wind speeds have been looking pretty lighter into Jefferson County. From what we were tracking, and those higher winds right with this storm that's moving through, some of those higher winds moving into Bethany area, and with this storm right here that's into Brooke County is where we're seeing some of those highest winds right now remaining. And if we were to look at our velocity, where we're looking at some of those higher wind speeds, again, the radar's not estimating much of certainly any damaging winds. We're still seeing those wind speeds around 20, 30 miles per hour. Again, those winds have subsided quite a bit into eastern Jefferson County. But where we're seeing some of those higher winds right now is with that storm that's in Brooke County. And again, it's been more of moving from West Liberty to Bethany. You can see what radar is estimating much higher winds there, upwards of about 50 miles per hour. So that's where some of our higher winds are right now. The greatest potential, unfortunately, for damaging winds is right now into Brooke County. And it's moving then out of Bethany right now. I'm moving more into Western PA at this point towards Browntown, West Middletown. It's going to be moving out of the northern panhandle as progressing towards the northeast. When will the storm be over with? Again, it'll be for the areas that remains, likely here leading up to 7:30. The storm's going to be out of the remainder of these locations, so it won't be too much longer likely that these storms remain up to around about 7:30. So again, where it remains now is looking into Brooke, Hancock counties. That's where we're seeing this remain at this hour. That's where a severe thunderstorm remains in effect until 7:45. We're looking there into Jefferson, Columbiana County, Brooke, Hancock County. These are the locations where these storms remain. And like I mentioned, again, these storms are moving so quick that even here within about 15 minutes, that these are likely starting to push out of the area. So it will not be much longer before our severe risk will thankfully subside across our area into eastern Ohio, the northern panhandle. That risk will then subside for our area. Angela's asking tornadoes. That tornado risk has been low. We did have one warning, though, for areas around Moundsville, northern Marshall County. That's been our one and only warning. The potential that we have with a tornado is what's known as a spin up. It's a brief tornado. It's one of those that quickly touch down and quickly lift up. They're not long lived at all. We have that potential within this line, and we've seen some rotation at times. We've only seen it one time over us, and that was again around Moundsville into northern Marshall County. That's been it. Previously with this line, before it moved into our area, we were seeing some rotation around Hocking County, Hocking Hill State Park. So it hasn't been a lot, but at times we have seen some of these storms, bit of surge in that rotation. It's again, it's a very brief event, but we have been keeping an eye on that potential as well within these. But certainly what we've seen, not only for not all of us, right, have been seeing high winds, but for a lot of this area, a lot of Ohio, all right, these storms before they moved in the areas, there's been some high winds within these storms as it's moved across the Buckeye State. Marcy says no electric. Oh no, not much in Wintersville, Pam. Yeah, those winds really calming down, thankfully, as it's moved into eastern Jefferson County. So Steubenville, Wintersville area, those winds much lighter, thankfully, than it was as it moved into Jefferson County. So winds have really, thankfully, died down with that line. In fact, even starting to break apart there. Seeing that heavier rain even concentrated more towards Toronto than the Steubenville, Wintersville area. So I hear the rain picking up a bit at the station, that's for sure, but don't hear anything too heavy of rain falling. That's certainly the heaviest part of this line right now that we're still looking at is moving there out of Wellsburg, out of Bethany area. This is it moving. It's right now over Brook Hills Park. That's where we're seeing that the heaviest segment of this line right now is there, where we're still seeing some of those higher winds was in Brooke County. Tess says we had a tornado warning in Moundsville. Yes, that tornado warning up until 6:45. Yeah, we did a live stream earlier, and then we had to end this to cut in for that tornado warning. We were live on air for that, and certainly some rotation around Moundsville. If any of you have any information to share, please send it our way. But I have not heard any type of preliminary report so far of any type of tornado damage. But certainly have had, and some of you already passed on some of those reports as well, wind damage. And we've saw a lot of that, it seems, around New Martinsville area, Wetzel County. And last we looked, Wetzel County had the most power outages in our area as well. So indicating some high winds occurred there around New Martinsville. So still seeing same area where we're seeing some of those higher winds. That's the same location. So that same storm where we're seeing those higher winds now, you can see those higher winds are now moving out. It's through Brook Hills Park. You can see where radars estimating some of those higher winds and now possibly even in excess of 60 miles per hour. So the potential for some damaging winds there moving out of Brook Hills Park with that storm in Brooke County. And now this is going to be moving out of Brooke County. And it's going to be moving into Western PA. So it's going to actually be moving out of the northern panhandle here. And this is the storm, which again, that's we've been keeping an eye on, that has had been within here recently. We've been seeing some of those higher wind speeds of what remains within that storm into Brooke County. But now we're seeing some of those higher winds actually moving out of Brooke County again, just passed over the Brook Hills Park area. Has been moving out of the Bethany area, West Liberty area. That's where we're seeing these high winds move through these locations, and now moving out of the Brook Hills Park area. So that's where we're seeing radar estimating some of those higher wind speeds, the highest, and certainly not too much to be had with what we are seeing into Jefferson County. You can see without us even sampling it, the big difference there. Of course, these darker greens, much lighter wind speeds than the bright green, almost white look to radar. And that's a dead giveaway where we're seeing the highest winds right now with what remains in this area. And again, that's right now along that county line, along the state line. It's moving out of Brooke County. What about St. Clairsville? So your threat's over. The severe threat is over for a lot of our area. So if we broaden our view here, and even if we actually drop this, because it gives a better view of the region, so you can see just how many of us are out of this line. So again, the only areas where the severe threat continues is the very eastern part of Jefferson County, Brooke County, Hancock County, and eastern Columbiana County. That's it. So even portions of what remain is that severe threats coming to an end. And in fact, the line looks like it's almost out of Jefferson County. So really at this point, it's more of Brooke County, Hancock County, and Columbiana County. That at this point, that's where the severe threat lies. So Carroll County, Harrison, Tuscarawas, Guernsey, Noble, Monroe, Tyler, Wetzel, Marshall, Ohio, a lot of those counties in our area, the severe threat is has ended. Still dealing with some rain lingering in the wake of this line, but thankfully, severe risk has diminished for most of our region. Nicole says light rain and a few rumbles in Steubenville. Terry says it whipped through here in Beach Bottom a few minutes ago. Carolyn says watching. Lucy was talking about some rain in Weirton, Brooke County near the Hancock County line. Yeah. Yeah. Not really. Those winds, yeah, really weakened quite a bit. The storm, that line, that part of the line over Jefferson County moving through eastern Jefferson and Steubenville, Weirton area really weakened quite a bit moving through Jefferson County. And yeah, we're not estimating much of wind speeds at all there. In fact, it's even a lot of that heavier rain, even avoiding those locations. Just you can see radar just estimating not much for wind speeds at all there, especially with respect to what we're still seeing with that storm that's in Brooke County. Some of those higher winds now moved into PA, Western PA. You can see those wind speeds upwards of 65, where he's estimating 65 miles per hour. So those higher winds are now into Washington County. You can see there that's going to be moving towards Burgettstown area. So that's where it's going to be moving towards the Burgettstown area. And so anywhere between Burgettstown, Frankfort Springs, as that continues to move towards the northeast, that's where it's heading into, and eventually then looking even towards Allegheny County, Beaver County. But those higher winds now out of the northern panhandle and are moving into PA. So even what we were tracking for some of those the highest winds there that had the best potential to produce some wind damage, those are actually moving out of the area, thankfully. So again, thankfully, even the worst likely that we've been tracking is actually coming to an end for our region, thankfully. Shelly says, are we expecting the same level of severity overnight tomorrow morning? We'll see how conditions set back up overnight. I think it's going to be tough to repeat this. I don't think it can. I don't think we're going to be to the same magnitude, but I still think that we can't rule out the potential for some severe weather. I think we can see another line set up going into tomorrow morning. We'll see how conditions set up behind this. So we'll see how the atmosphere responds to this initial line, and then we'll see how conditions are setting up early tonight. And then certainly stay tuned. You know, I will certainly keep you guys updated, and stay tuned, of course, for the 11 o'clock news tonight as well. And we'll keep you updated going throughout the night. And you can join me on my page as well, Nathan Shutt News 9. You can join me on X, Facebook. You can find me there, and I'll certainly be giving up some updates even after this live stream. After we end our live stream here, I'll certainly be giving you some updates throughout the evening. So I definitely urge you to stay tuned there. And like I said, we'll see how conditions set back up after this line moves through. We'll see how things are affected. We'll see. And the potential is there for it to recharge a bit, but of course it's hard for that to happen when it's overnight. I just can't see the same intensity as what we're seeing now by early tomorrow morning, but certainly still could be a line of thunderstorms moving back in, and we'll see. We'll see. I think the potential is there. I don't think it can be zero, but I think it is going to be tough to get back to what we're seeing for this evening. So I'm going back to look at some power outages for our region. I'm going to go We're going to start in Ohio. And what we're seeing in Ohio, Tuscarawas County listed at 72. And I'm going to actually share this with you guys. So we'll remove this. We'll get this set. All right. So this is the poweroutage.us. I referenced this some. This is a great tool, and I referenced this some even for the beginning, the first stream that we did. The nice thing about this, and it gave the example of Guernsey earlier as well, is that this is not only considering for Ohio counties AEP Ohio. This includes a lot of even local providers as well, and we're seeing some of those higher outages in Ohio County, certainly in Monroe County, 859 customers currently without power, 168 in Guernsey. Outside of that, you can see it's pretty minimal. We're certainly seeing. I already looked at the preview. Certainly seeing a lot more into West Virginia, and you can see, of course, you can track any state you want across the U.S. and look into West Virginia, and we're certainly seeing a lot more. And Wetzel County still looking like the most there, 2,115. Now, that's with respect to the amount of customers tracked, right? That's a high percentage of customers tracked in that county without power. Ohio County, 1,757 current reported outages. Marshall, 247. Tyler County, 348. And that was as of 7:13 p.m. So dealing with a lot of power outages in some spots where we have been tracking some of those higher winds. And I would probably a good bet that here with some of the later updates, when this does update again, this was at 7:13, 7:30. When this updates again, likely Brooke County is going to pick up as well. And that's where we've seen some of those higher winds that moved out of Wetzel, Marshall, Ohio, and now into Brook. Likely going to see some higher outages coming into Brook as well. We're seeing some of those higher winds move through. So again, that's poweroutage.us. Very cool tool to use there. And now let's jump back up here on radar, and let's look at what we're dealing with across the area. So let's look at where we currently stand with our severe thunderstorm warning. That severe thunderstorm warning is, they're continuing to trim it back. So we still have our severe thunderstorm warning there for the very northern portion of that is Brooke County, Hancock County, and then continuing into the eastern part of Columbiana County. So that's where that severe thunderstorm warning does remain in effect. So again, from most outside of what I just mentioned, that severe threat has come to an end. Still dealing with some rain, but that severe threat has come to an end. When we look at what radar is estimating in terms of wind speeds from what does remain, just very minimal, right? Just very minimal. So not seeing any potential there from what does remain. Radar's not picking up on any potential there for damaging winds. These are radar estimating some pretty light winds with respect to what we've seen at times from what does remain. So up to about 20 miles per hour. So it's certainly not much there, but radar's still estimating from what remains of what we're picking up on from those storms, which again, currently around the East Liverpool area, continuing then across Hancock County, and those high winds that we were tracking now, you could see out of Brooke County. But there's where our higher winds that we've been tracking out of Brooke County still remain. Those are some of the highest winds right now that have moved out of Brooke County. And says one bolt of lightning, one rumble of thunder, and now light rain. So it's New Cumberland and New Manchester in the clear now. Yeah, I believe that. Let's take a look at where radar's showing that. Yeah, so at this point, really just dealing with more of a rain and a lot of Hancock County, more of just a rain is what we're dealing with than even a thunderstorm. So, yeah, I really think at this point, most of us, this is done with our severe threat for this evening. Really, I think the only area of somewhat concern, I mean, certainly some heavy downpours there. Radar not estimating much for wind speeds, but I think what we're dealing with, the strongest portion of this line now is in Columbiana County, which again, radar's not showing much for wind speeds with this, but still some lightning, some pretty heavy downpours with that. And that's just there near East Liverpool. In fact, just north of East Liverpool, we put this in a bit of motion. You can see this continuing to move towards the northeast. So that eastern part of Columbiana County is likely it at this point. Again, what we're seeing in Hancock County is essentially just a rain. Even we're not even dealing with much of a thunderstorm there. I mean, probably hearing some rumbles of thunder from that portion of this line that's into Columbiana County, but it's just rain that we're dealing with. So yeah, and most of us in the clear at this point. Again, the only thing that is the strongest portion we're dealing with right now is in Columbiana County, just north there of East Liverpool. So if you're tuning in eastern Columbiana County, you're still dealing with this thunderstorm. But for most of this area, for most of our area, we are in the clear at this point. So our severe risk is coming to an end. The severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect for the eastern portion of Columbiana County, that goes until 7:45. Until 7:45. It does encompass portions of Brook and Hancock, but really I think they could even trim. They probably will here briefly start to trim even more of this and end that warning for portions of Hancock and Brook County. Because again, that's the threats out of Brook County, dealing with mainly just showers in Hancock County, and the only thunderstorm we're tracking now is into eastern Columbiana County, with that severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 7:45 p.m. Let's pull up on some of our cameras, and again, trying to look at some of this earlier, and looked like evidence that some of our cameras had lost power. So we're dealing with New Martinsville. Moundsville's back. See, I was trying to get a glimpse of Moundsville earlier, and looked like it went offline. So I'm guessing that the power went out, maybe at least briefly there in Moundsville. That's we're trying to get a view of Moundsville earlier this evening, when that tornado warning was issued earlier this evening. So it looks like New Martinsville cameras down, Caddis camera down, potentially dealing with some of the power outages there. Get some droplets on the camera. At Stephenville, we're dealing with more of that rain now into. You can get a look in Weirton into Hancock County there, Brook County, dealing with more of a rain shower for those locations. Of course, you still could probably hear some thunder from that storm that is into eastern Columbiana County. Kathy says wind really picking up off Route 30 outside of Chester, heading toward PA. So yeah, you were dealing with that storm right there as it moved through East Liverpool, Chester area, now continuing to move towards the north. Looks like they did trim it. They did trim it more. So they did end up trimming this more. So now, yes, the severe thunderstorm warning is out of Brook and Hancock County, and they did trim it to that storm that remains in eastern Columbiana County. So as this is wrapping up, I think we're going to wrap up the live stream. Thank you all for tuning in this evening. Thank you so much. Well, we have to be worried about later tonight in Brook County. I wouldn't stress too much about it right now. We're going to keep an eye on how conditions set back up after this line. We'll see how conditions look closer towards midnight. Seeing how things start to rebound in the wake of this initial line. The severe risk is not going to be present here near term, but I think the potential is there later on tonight, early tomorrow morning, that we could deal with another line moving in. So, but again, to repeat this, I think is going to be a tough task. That at that time of the night into early tomorrow morning, I'm not saying it's a repeat of what we just saw, but I think we can have some more thunderstorms move back in leading up towards sunrise. And I don't think we can rule out completely that threat for a stronger severe thunderstorm. So, but I definitely didn't think it's going to be hard to repeat what we just saw leading into tomorrow morning. And of course, we're going to keep a close eye on these conditions setting up in the wake of this. And that's why I urge you to stay tuned with me on Nathan Shutt News 9, my Twitter as well, or not Twitter, X. I always want to say Twitter, X, or Facebook. You can join me there. Just look up Nathan Shutt News 9, WTOV9. You can find me there. I'll keep you updated throughout the evening. And of course, tune in as well on WTOV9 and Fox 9. We could keep you updated coming up at the 10 and 11 as we continue to track. Well, these storms are out of the area, but really we're just tracking those power outages. We'll be looking at some of the storm reports coming in of wind damage from these storms. So there's a lot to wrap up from what we did see move through the area this evening. So stay tuned for the latest with that coming up again at the 10, 11. And of course, you can find me over on Facebook as well as X. And we'll keep the discussion open this evening. And of course, I will bring you the latest at that point on how it's looking later tonight and early tomorrow morning. So make sure to stay tuned then. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Hopefully everyone did stay safe this evening. And I'll catch you later on the 10-11. Have a good night, everyone.